Welcome, everybody.
Okay.
Nice to see you online. Okay, looks good. You might switch in presentation mode if you want to, and then.
Yeah, I will. I just want to because I just downloaded it from Google Docs to PowerPoint. So I just want to see if everything got downloaded. Hopefully, okay. Great. And I have many slides, so we'll see how much of that we cover. Basically, 3 or 4 use cases, I think. And yeah, we'll see. Okay, yeah, that's good. Yes. Anyway, so I was saying that I hope that, the innovation will continue, because you cannot stop that for 2 years and, say, oh, well, it's a problem and we'll come back later. A lot has happened even during 2020 in the blockchain space, in the DeFi space and all that. And so
any projects that have any particular relationship to the pandemic or the COVID situation?
We did. It's not mentioned here. Oh, I should have done that. Let me see if I can do that quickly. Okay. We have one. So we're developing AI tools for collaboration among groups that are not geographically in the same place. Because what happens is that when you want to train AI, you need lots of data sets, or a lot of data to be able to improve the algorithms. Yep. And what happens is that generally you don't have so much, but maybe some other. So if you're a hospital and then another hospital has some more data, but you don't want to share the data. Because it's private, right? Especially like healthcare data or risk assessment data about customers. Yeah. So what we have developed are tools that enable you to, through use of consensus, smart contracts, share not the data but the algorithms as such. Not even the full algorithm, just the weights from the algorithms. And we have so we have done that on the COVID data sets where we had even, I think, one deployment was in LA, one was, I think, here in Cambridge. And anyway, so you can share the algorithms or work together collaboratively without the actual data sharing, which is pretty cool.
Yeah. Okay.
I actually didn't put that in my presentation because I was focusing more on the autonomous agents and the AI part that we're doing through that. And this is a little bit different. So this is collective learning. So it doesn't have the agents as such. It just has a different set of tools. Some other time maybe I can come back and talk about that. No, we really have like
so many interesting projects in this space. We invest in some blockchain projects, and one project in our portfolio is developing AI in combination with video surveillance cameras. And they took the situation and developed what they call a virtual doorman. So an AI-powered surveillance camera will track if you're wearing a mask, and then do some statistics, how many people are permitted in one room. And they really took the chance from the pandemic to promote their a little bit adapted product offering, and got quite some demand for it. That's interesting.
Yeah, no, that's really good. Yes, this tool, the AI collaboration tools that I was mentioning, they're still in development, so they need further, there's further work. But anyway, yeah, we have quite a lot. So I'll just present what we have done so far, and like I said, if there are some more opportunities in the future, because we also are working on a couple of completely different products or projects. Okay. One is the DEX, a decentralized exchange. I'll mention that at the end for a little bit. And another one is another really interesting lending borrowing platform, but based on real assets. So not just token, not just some DeFi.
So moving into the DeFi space as well a little bit, or Is that already DeFi from
No,
your
it
point of
isn't.
view, or is it just
It, I think it is a DeFi space, but it's actually based on real world assets, which makes a difference, because most of the DeFi things that you see at the moment, they're just, you know, tokens.
Yeah.
But so this lending platform that we're developing is you actually have real assets. They're verified by real lawyers
Right.
or notaries, and then tokenized, and then the lending and borrowing goes against that.
All right.
So,
okay. Cool. I just shared my screen once again, so everybody who's more and more people are joining, so that they know that they are in the right place. So welcome everybody. We will just wait a few more minutes until everybody has joined, and you are right here as our Blockchain Monday today, and we are going to talk about a combination of AI and blockchain in order to build autonomous, open access, tokenized, decentralized machine learning networks, which is kind of in every dimension one can think of, you just cross the border simultaneously. I think that's something which is quite interesting. But let's wait a few more minutes until we officially start, and then we go. We have already some 20-something attendees, which is nice, given the fact that under COVID are quite many people that have spent their whole working day in front of a computer and with a Zoom conference and so on. And I do fully understand if someone is a little bit bored and has enough to even spend the afternoon and the evening with something like that. Nonetheless, I think today we have really some pretty interesting topic to on offer.
So how many attendees do you guys usually get?
We had everything between 15 and 60, something like that. So we have a member base of 60 something. And then it pretty much depends on the time. And in fact, the physical events we used to have last year were more attractive from my point of view. And so it really depends pretty much on the theme, on the topic, how many people attend. And currently it's mostly German, but we like we would like to extend, of course, the universe of attendees.
Yeah, I found actually during the pandemic that we have opened more our doors or our computers, online computers, to to other groups. I think. I know. What's your experience with that?
Yes, in fact, of course. It's a good thing about doing it virtual was, first of all, that we were able to invite speakers from different parts of the world, and we already had speakers from Moscow, from Paris, from London, from Tel Aviv, and so on, which really broadens our focus, and then as regards attendees. Initially, we were much more focusing on helping the area of Hamburg and the surrounding North German area to network better into the blockchain interested people, to have better networking. And then we wanted to attract much more the unchained community to make them aware of what blockchain does. And therefore, we quite often had speeches or discussions in German as well. So we were not so much focusing trying to get the entire world on our webinars and just trying to build a community of people that might support each other and so on. But we are just in a process of discussing the future of our Fine. And maybe now it's a good point in time to say hello to everybody and to give just a brief introduction to where you are, for those that are joining for the first time. So from my side, warm welcome. My name is Moritz Schild. I'm one of the founders and board members of Hanseatic Blockchain Institute. We are domiciled in Hamburg, Germany, and we have been founded early 2019 by a bunch of about 15, 20 people who first of all wanted to network, who are all interested in blockchain, who believe in the blockchain technology to be something that will stay and that might have a significant impact on the future of more or less everything. And we had two intentions. First of all, to improve the networking within our group of people, and then to help spread the word. So by just inviting people, by talking to people, by presenting applications of blockchain technology to just give a better flavor of the opportunities, of the potential of that technology, to ideally help implement more and more projects of this kind. And we have already been successful in just connecting players, in finding someone who was interested and said, okay, I would like to do a pilot with this startup and so on. And that's something we want to develop in the future. So that's maybe just some little background. The good news about Blockchain Institute: we are an association, a Verein under German law, and with a Verein everybody can become a member. And if you would like to support us and to continue as helping us in what we strive to do, please feel free to visit our website. First of all, see our next events, and then secondly, you might want to take the opportunity, for the time being only in German language, to click on Mitglied werden, and then you can become a member. And for individual members, it's 50 euros a year, which I believe is quite affordable. So with that, I come to our speaker today, and I think that the topic is quite pretty interesting, because when you start entering the blockchain area, even the first step to try to understand the kind of differences between a traditional database and a blockchain-based database is something where you have to cross a border in different aspects. So first of all, you have to be aware that you don't have some administrator of a blockchain-based database. So that's the first kind of change. Secondly, all data is encrypted, which is the second kind of step you have to take. And the third one is that everybody can access the data. And I think it's really a challenge to get this message across, because people tend to like concepts where they just have to change one of the parameters. And already blockchain changes several of the parameters, and that's what I mentioned earlier. The projects Fetch AI is working in is first of all the combination of artificial intelligence plus blockchain, which is kind of even a double effect, and then the intention behind that is to set up something which is open access, then decentralized, then based on machine learning. So it's an organization which kind of challenges the traditional way of thinking about intermediaries or whatsoever in so many dramatic ways, that this really, from my point of view, is amongst the concepts and the disciplines that bring blockchain and decentralized action to a kind of crown discipline. That's my personal perception, and that's the reason why we are delighted to have Maria here as our guest today. She's working as the director of business development with Fetch AI, and she brought a presentation, and I think she'll give us a short introduction on what she does, how you personally came into the blockchain and AI space. And then she'll walk us first of all into Fetch AI and tell us a little bit more about the actual project. And before I hand over to you, just briefly, everybody, please feel free to either use the chat room if you want to contribute something, or particularly the Q&A, the F and R in German button, where you can pose questions to Maria or me, and we will try to address them within the presentation. And of course, afterwards, we will have time for further discussion. All right, Maria, good to have you here. We are delighted that you took some time. Maria is in Cambridge in the UK today, and stage is yours, and a warm applause for you.
Thank you so much. Thank you so much, Moritz, and Nick, also for inviting me to present here and to be with you guys. It's really great. This is one of the few maybe advantages of pandemic that we were just discussing before we started, even that we are somehow able to reach broader international audiences having these webinars. So previously we had to travel, and now we just sit behind our computers and are able to share these works, projects that we're working on with a much wider community. So I'm really happy to be with you guys. Yeah, I really would like to encourage you to ask questions. I'm not actually able to see the chat when I'm presenting, but Moritz can collect the questions, and
I'll let you know. Yeah.
Yeah, you can let me know even now or wait at the end, whichever way. So the aim is to explain the concept of how you can really combine, or how we are combining the AI and blockchain. And then show you a few use cases that we are developing. Some of them will have codes being released in the next couple of months, so that's really exciting. We have a mainnet v2 launch in March, and together with that, we would like to release some of these agents that I will be talking about, the codes and documentation, so people can actually go pick up an agent and create one, create a hotel online for themselves. So yeah, so I work in Fetch. I have been working in Fetch for almost 3 years now. Before that, I worked in Oracle for many years, and Geant after that. It's European infrastructure for research and education. So I have been working, in tech for many years, really, and deploying projects of various kinds in various parts of Europe and also world. Also, I have studied in the US and deployed SAP. Actually, that was one of my first deployments of software. And then I got to be interested really in this. Like I heard quite a bit about blockchain, and it was mostly like Bitcoin. I was like, what is that? Some magic money? But then it was really like it really caught my attention, and so I wanted to work with that technology and look into it. And luckily enough, at Cambridge, where I live currently, there was a company that was combining both AI and blockchain. So I joined, and here we are. I'm also Fetch and me. We have joined, or we have started, an organization called Blockchain for Europe. I'm the chair of that organization, and our aim is to speak with regulators in Europe, in Brussels, so European Commission, members of European Parliament, but also, we used to go around Europe and actually have a dialogue with regulators and policymakers to explain what these technologies do, especially what blockchain does, what the use cases are, what benefits could be, and try to have a dialogue with them. This is really important because we do need regulations in this space. We need to follow certain rules, so it's not a wild west. And but it's important for the regulators and policymakers to really understand the technology, and so that's what we have been trying to do. I'm also quite interested and involved in promoting getting more women into this technology. So if there are any women, please reach out to me. We have our network that we're growing. Actually, a lot of people from Germany as well. And we have a lot of support also from some of the German Frankfurt School of Finance, a blockchain center. Philip Sandner is running a fantastic DLT talents program for women. So I'm mentoring that there, and a few other things as well like that. So feel free to reach out to me about those things as well if you'd like. There's my email, and there will be, I'm on LinkedIn and Twitter as well. So here we go. Oh, that was too quick. So what is Fetch doing? So what we're really building is an infrastructure infrastructure. So we're not, building another app or 2 apps or how many apps. Everybody's trying to build apps these days or years. So what we're trying to build is infrastructure that can unlock the value that's in these different data silos and organize complex tasks to benefit individual businesses and organizations. We're achieving this by forming. So what we have done is combining this. I'll explain later. Okay, maybe I'll explain now. So when we talk about AI, what we really mean is a subset of AI that is dealing with multi-agent systems. So this is not this centralized AI that you're used to seeing in these large companies, but these software agents that they are able to represent people, devices, IoT devices. You can put them on cars. They can represent organizations, and this is a really good match with blockchain, because these agents they're not reporting to some central entity. They really have their own algorithms. They can be set up independently. And what we have built is this agent framework that allows them to communicate. So it's this decentralized network, and it's an open source with software tools, and anybody can really be giving this access to this power of AI. Through these tools, and we're building our own blockchain as well to support that. So there is this connectivity with all these different tools that we're building together. They're connecting these AI agents with the blockchain and enabling them to communicate and find each other and have contracts yeah. So how does that really work? So here, everyday devices generate more and more data, and much of that really goes to waste. So we have built these autonomous economic agents to represent these devices, and they can, as I mentioned, represent algorithms, also people, services, and they can find each other in this decentralized marketplace where that we call open economic framework. And it's a search and discovery system, and it's an active decentralized marketplace. So you don't have to have several different marketplaces for, one for data, one for supply chain, one for mobility. It's really, because this is all on one infrastructure. Anybody can join that. Anybody can be participating in that. So these agents then can find each other, can communicate and negotiate. This is step number 4, and then they're able to agree terms and conditions. So and agree and exchange. Agents can reach an agreement and exchange data or assets on smart and include and put these agreements on these smart contracts, and then the blockchain serves for logging these transactions, and they can be logged in a trusted, verifiable, and immutable way. So you can always go back and you can verify these transactions that they have happened. So here is a little bit different representation of how that can work. And as I mentioned, agents. So we have done several different. Sorry, I'm just trying to move my. Sorry, I'm just trying to fix my screen because I had too many things open there. So enabling, when I say autonomy and economy of things, these that we are building or that we have built are autonomous. What that means that they are able to represent people or devices, anything, autonomously. So they can act on behalf of their owners. And they provide economic activity and together, so their agents can be vehicles, scooters, taxis, road signs. We have done several of these use cases. They can represent charging stations, parking spaces, weather sensors, hotel, restaurants, people, just about anything, right? And the availability of real-time information and the intelligence to analyze this information will make, for example, transportation system much more resilient and efficient. You can reroute vehicles automatically around accidents, weather, congestions, and other delays. And this has potential to free up productive time for drivers, for passengers. This is specifically for the mobility space. This is also very applicable in the supply chain. And this is because in mobility supply chain, smart cities, we have what we see there is multi-stakeholder systems. And these are the stakeholders that can be represented by these agents. And then they don't need to have one central entity that is coordinating them. Basically, they are able to act in and have information in real time, transact in real time, and their algorithms learn, so they are able to analyze situations and then also make dynamic adjustments. And we have built use cases around parking network. I will show you a use case that was developed actually in Germany or deployed recently in Germany, in Munich. We have here in Cambridge deployed or are deploying a decentralized delivery network. We're working on building travel agents. These agents can represent hotels and people looking for hotels. And there is a lot to say also about having just smart infrastructure, and that means oracles. And we're able to put the oracle information into agents and have these oracles autonomous and really dynamic, and including them in smart contracts to make a better use of the data that is available out there in the real world. This is just a
I mean, that's quite impressive. If you say it's a framework, so that's all open source. Everybody can check and contribute, and or how
yes.
much
so
is kind of
yeah, exactly.
open.
Those
for
are
the
good
user,
questions.
and how much is standard setting from your side?
Those are really good questions, and thank you. I think it's good to have this interactive, so I don't have to present everything and then you ask me, we go back. So it's absolutely great to have questions now. So what we have is a blockchain. We have several elements. So we have a blockchain, that's the base layer. On top of that is, excuse me, is what we have developed is open economic framework. This search and discovery of these agents. We have now deployed that as a website and as an iOS app. These are available for beta users to test. So again, get in touch. We would be happy to have you tested. This was only released last week. Right. Then we have agent framework, which this one is open source. It's available. There's information on our website. There's documentation for developers. And using this agent framework, people can develop their own agents. So when we talk about agents, these are not fetch agents. They're anybody's agents, right? So we're not taking the role of some centralized entity. We're really developing these tools and giving them to people to use and to build their own agents based on these agents, or well, not based on. They can also develop app. At the beginning, I said we're not here to develop app, but you can have your own app that provides a view of a certain ecosystem of the agent. So that's also possible. Excuse me. For example, for parking, we're sort of doing that. But what we have found is that it's actually much easier if we help the community, and we're actually building several of these agents ourselves. And then we will be releasing the codes so people can then take a look and can build, basically facilitating the development time for others. So they can see how the agents have been built and build on top of that. They can extend the functionality. The agents are modular. You can add more skills. You can have buyer agents, seller agents. You can attach different backends to it, so they can represent. They can be attached to APIs. So we have built a system, decentralized network. Train network. So we built agents that are representing the trains here in the UK. They're just connected to an API that's freely available. You can see agents, trains coming in, leaving, departing. And when you combine these various aspects, these different elements of the mobility space, say trains, you can add taxis to that. You can have, travel agent like hotels, and then you can then source the various information pieces from these different agents. You can even have an agent that is only providing information about, I don't know, arrival times, or combining all these different elements, the other agents, and build a complete end-to-end travel agent, right? So
what do you need to add something as an agent? So do you need permission because you're kind of developing a digital twin, so to say, of a thing or a device, or could you even set up an agent for something that does not give you permission and just have it on kind of reflected on the platform?
You can have anything can be an agent.
Right.
So I mentioned vehicles. You can have road signs. So we have done one use case that's on our website. So if you go to our website here, use cases, you will see several, many more use cases than what I'm talking about today. But for example, road signs, what you can have is you can have a sign that you can sell information to others, other players or other people in that ecosystem. So if you have imagine you have autonomous vehicles, or we're building them, but in order for them to really function, they need such a huge AI, which we currently don't have. We don't have so much computing power in the cars. But when you're able to supplement augment the reality for these vehicles with other information about the ecosystem, so signs, traffic signals, some other sensors, when you enable the vehicles to see around the corner, what's beyond the corner, where they don't see physically themselves, you're providing much better sense of the real world to these cars, so they can function, they can then make the decisions more easier. You can provide them, for example, about information about pedestrian crossing, which they wouldn't see if it's around the corner, right?
Okay. There's a distinct question about this. You mentioned that the system will permit that you can see something which you physically would not be able to see. The question from Ute is the other way around, asking, is it possible to control the visibility of agents or their properties? Meaning, is there a data protection feature that you have something on the platform, however, it's not visible to everybody or to the public?
You will enable as much information on the agent as you want, because it's your agent. So you're controlling your agent, and you're allowing only the information that you want to be visible or to be publicly available. So every agent should have an address and should have some basic information, but even that address, it's just for them to it's their identity. So they need to have an identity, and they need to have some basic attributes. But then the beauty is of this type of AI, that it's yours, it's your private information, private data, your own software that is also learning about you and your wants, needs, and preferences, and then is able to then customize the options that is giving to you based on your preferences and how you set it up.
All right.
Right now, there goes quite a bit of work into setting up these agents. So, but again, because you can modify them yourselves, you set the agents to the level that you want them to be. Like I said, we're setting up some generic agents that people can take and further customize. But if you want to have completely your own agent, you have the tools now, you have the documentation, the agent framework is there, and it's really up to the developers to play with this, to make these customizations as they wish.
I think the concept of agent is something that really has to kind of dig in.
Sink in, yes.
There's one question I would be interested to understand, because you mentioned that you are setting up buses and trains as agents. Nonetheless, even a user could set up an agent and let it become member or part of the network, right? So
Yes.
it's not necessarily you. And then the second question is, so an agent is basically anything that can collect data and post it to the network. Is that right?
Yes, that's correct. So I was gonna jump here into it's further down in my presentation. Sorry. So here is the travel agents. Maybe this will be easier to understand. So I skipped the other presentations. We can go back to that. But what we're doing is we're building these travel agents, and this is a way how you can create your own agent. This is how simple we want it to be. That you, at the moment, you know, if you look, you know, where do you find your hotels? You go to Booking.com, you go to some other, you know, Expedia or some of these aggregators that are doing a good job, you know, collecting all this information. But what they also do is they control the market, they control the hotels, and they're giving them, you know, certain terms and conditions. They have to people have to pay 10 to 15% just to be part of the system, part of the platform. In addition to that, if you just think about it, if I search for a hotel, I'm gonna probably look at the first page results, maybe second page if I have time. But to be able to get to that first page, these hotels, they also have to pay, you know, extra fees. You know, it's in a way advertising yourself. So what we're trying to do is give people the tools to be able to set up these agents themselves, and then interact. So have service providers and have people, organizations that want these services interact directly without these intermediaries. And the way this will work is that you can set up your own hotel, give it a location, address. You can select several of these customizations already, whether it has meeting rooms or whatever, how many rooms are there in a hotel. And you click the button and boom, and it's set up. And other people can go and can find that hotel. So, and we're building this as a, so we have an app. We're saying it's, you know, it's not our app, but it's going to be available for the users to then easier find these hotels. And again, we're developing these tools and these specific agents just to show people, because as you said, you know, it's quite a challenge to really get your head around how that works. It's just rather different, just like blockchain is giving a lot of people headache to just even try to understand that. Now you add the AI and these agents on top of that, and it takes some time to get used to that idea. So right, and so these are actually real app. I have it on my phone as well, and you will be able to do, you know, custom search, maybe some ideas. And again, what we're doing here is that we're really removing, what we're trying to do is remove this middle layer, these middlemen that are between the users and the service providers. So this is only for hotels, but if you imagine, you can add anything to that. You could then add taxis, you can add, you know, local restaurants, anything, and you then communicate directly with these I call them service providers, but anybody can do services, right? We have seen during the pandemic that a lot of people wanted to do deliveries or needed deliveries, right? And then so you can sign up, you can actually provide that service, right? And you can deliver it to the local customers, you know. Again, you're connected directly, you know, you as a user with the service provider, and you can have that peer-to-peer communication. Any questions?
So maybe we step back to the initial presentation. However, there's a more technical question. Could you kindly elaborate on the consensus mechanism of the base layer of the Fudge blockchain? Because data availability in big data and AI use cases seems to be a bottleneck. How do you technically ensure the scalability without giving up on decentralization and censorship resistance?
Yeah, so it goes back to exactly to consensus, how we're doing consensus. I think that would be better answered by my technical colleagues, but that's why we have started developing our own blockchain. Then we've combined it recently also with Cosmos blockchain, and so we're taking you know, the best elements what are available. We're using proof of stake to have a high throughput. You also want to keep in mind, low cost of transactions. We see that, with Ethereum, how challenging that is becoming for some of the DeFi applications. And that's why we're building these tools, ourselves, tools, I mean, infrastructure, meaning also the blockchain. So that can exactly support.
It's a proof of stake. I think that's the core of the question.
Okay, that's what you wanted. Yes, proof of stake. And we have done, so I mentioned here, so I have some use cases here from supply chain, some from travel, mobility, and also from, for parking. So I'll just go over that quickly, and you stop me what's more interesting, and then we go on.
Okay, good.
So supply chain is an interesting use case that we have done here together with University of Cambridge. They're actually the experts on the AI part. They have been studying these agents, these multi-agent systems for 20, 30 years. They have been working with other large industrial partners. What happened recently, until recently, they have only been doing the AI part, and now that we have blockchain available and high throughput blockchains, so they can see that you can now combine the AI with the blockchain part. So we're actually really glad to be working with them because they provide us with a lot of these insights and about multi-agent systems. So University of Cambridge and University of Oxford, if anybody is interested in that, they have really good programs in these areas. And what we did with what they have actually done was they developed this platform where they add to that IoT measurements. And so the challenge here with the supply chains is how do you manage this complexity in this growing global ecosystems? You have increased demands, you have reduction of delivery periods, dynamic nature, and IoT integration. That's what we were looking at. In this particular use case, we had retailer, wholesaler, supplier, and logistics provider parts or ecosystem participants. I mentioned these are contacts. If anybody wants them later, get in touch. It was funded by Research England and Pitchin, which are local funding bodies. And here's a scenario. So retailer communicates with wholesaler, requests certain goods. That wholesaler communicates with supplier to order those. They communicate with the logistics provider, and then there is also a third-party logistics. So, and this is a simple kind of blockchain, but with these multi-agent systems, you can simulate, you can have many layers of these agents representing these different supply chain participants. And just quickly, there's an ordering panel to place the order. Here was a tracking map to track the delivery. In this part, there was the communication between the various agents and what was the call for proposal and what were the responses. And here, this part was streaming data is the information about transportation vehicle ambient conditions such as temperature, humidity, and light. So you can see all these elements are being tracked and monitored. And AI in this case was, so this is where it's really interesting. You now have the autonomy of these agents. So they're able to act on your behalf, on behalf of the owners. So they were allowed to perform autonomously the selection of bids from the suppliers. And then there was analytics based on the IoT data profile throughout the delivery process, evaluate the transportation service, and predict the product quality. So there were actually really reports on the AI part. And the more of these ecosystem participants you have in the system, the more data you are able to gather, and the more then you're able to evaluate your suppliers or evaluate your logistics providers especially over time. And this is quite interesting because these agents are dynamic. So what happened in COVID, when COVID hit us in March, everything kind of broke down because yes, even current logistics software, they're built around data, but this is static, this is not dynamic data. These models are based on data that was maybe provided 2 years ago, 3 years ago, but with these agents, the adjustments are in real time, really. So
Maria, just briefly on this issue. You mentioned earlier that in the traditional system there are middlemen that are collecting data, and you presented this, and there's a question in this direction as well, to say, well, what we do, what Fetch AI does, is that we kind of we eliminate the middleman. The question being, so is Fetch AI replacing the middleman by just another technical system, or how can we distinguish
no,
the traditional middleman?
not at all. Yeah,
so
not at all. So
the main distinguishing factor.
So when you create your own agent, you have the database. I mean, you have the history of that agent. Fetch doesn't keep any of that. Fetch, you register the agent in the Open Economic Framework, so it's like a marketplace that says where you can say, hey, look, I have an agent. My agent is supplying meat, and that's it. You can also say that the meat, you have this much availability, or you keep that closed. So in the because you need to have some marketplace, some visibility of agent. So when you disclose, it's up to you. That data stays with you. It's not registered with Fetch, and Fetch doesn't keep history of these agents at all. So it's really just a framework that allows you to find the other agents, allows the communication, mostly through FIPA protocols, and then allows you to, to do the.
In addition to that, Fetch does not take a commission, right?
No, what you do is it's a pay per use, right? So it's a it's a network. So you pay with FET tokens for the for using it. So when you're the transactions, they're entered on the Fetch blockchain. So you're using FET to pay for the transactions, just like on Ethereum you use ETH to transact. So so it's a it's the same model as Ethereum or any of the other blockchains.
Right.
Here we had a decentralized delivery network. I think I a little bit briefly mentioned that. Again, it's an app, but it's an app that will allow you to connect to these other services. So you can create your own service. This was meant for like a taxi drivers. So we have Uber at the moment. There are some other platforms that are trying to connect taxi suppliers, but or taxi drivers. But again, those platforms are keeping information about and then really directing them. So we're not doing that. We're again enabling these taxi drivers or other. It says pizza packages and people. Sorry, it doesn't. You cannot see that very well on the screenshot. But basically allowing, again, suppliers, service providers in your local area to connect, to have their own agents to provide this service locally. And then the app is going to allow you to find them and to be able to navigate and to connect with them more easily.
But somehow in setting up this infrastructure, you define which roles are permitted, right? So if you're setting this up and you say it's for taxi drivers, if I don't know, I would like to offer transportation services, but not for individuals, but for furniture, could I hop on this infrastructure and kind of extend it, or so you are setting the framework, the order, and the use case, and
so this one we are setting up. This one we're setting up because we want to show people what it can do. But right. But that's anybody can set up their own app and then start connecting to these drivers.
Okay, that was
or you know, or or anybody can set up a service that that extend these agents. If you are not, you know, if you're not a developer, if you're a developer, great. If you're not a developer, you need to hire somebody, but you can extend these agents. We're gonna release basic taxi or basic, you know, mobility agents, but you're able to add more functionality. You're able to add, you know, different kinds of we call them service keys that are then able to match you with the people requesting the service. Right, so it's you know, you can adapt, you can adjust this as much as you want. The app, because we're building it, so it has the features that we found, you know, useful. If somebody else wants to actually contribute and can say, well, perhaps it should have this feature, we would be happy to, you know, get that feedback. That would be quite interesting.
all right. So this goes pretty much in the direction of an additional question we just received. So one attendee is asking, when I understand correctly, your platform makes most sense when different agent types from various partners are combined. I think that holds true. And then the question being, do you have examples of grown applications where various agent types were added over time?
Not yet, because this is you know, new. Yeah. So that's why we're developing these different agents. I mentioned, you know, the supply chain agents, the delivery agents, the travel agents, the hotel agents, right?
Okay, so in principle, it's a universal infrastructure network, and then you're trying to just develop appetizers to make people aware and make people familiar with the advantages, right?
Absolutely. No, absolutely. Yeah, because it's a new, you know, it's a whole new idea. I mean, like I said, you know, the whole concept of blockchain is so new, and the whole concept of, you know, adding these agents on the blockchain is, you know, that's even further. It gives you further challenges and you know, trying to explain it. So, but here's, for example, here's how it works at the moment, right? So you can create these taxis, the type, what kind of fuel, how many passengers. Here's some, this is actually real information that we took a screenshot from. So again, if anybody's interested to know more, let me know. I'd be happy to, you know, we're looking for developers who are interested to explore these with us. We have a developer channel on Discord, so people can join us. Here we were shooting a video how it actually works. We were doing that. It's actually me here in the video with our CEO. So there, I think we have this video now available, or it will be shortly available on our website. Again, you know, why is this important? We really want to decentralize the control. So we don't want more platforms. We don't want to give up data. So I actually personally don't use Uber. So I'm using, you know, several other things, even Amazon, and because they're convenient, but I just don't want to give up more of my data. We heard what, you know, what's happening with WhatsApp and what's happening with our data in general. You know, these large platforms that are collecting it are really using it for their advantage. So I think this is what we're really trying to do with blockchain in general, not just Fetch, but in general, to have these this infrastructure, this new infrastructure that allows transfer of value and connecting people directly, right? Connect peer-to-peer connection. So so that's what we're trying to do as well. Give people these tools so they can use them.
And the platform, sorry, one more technical question. The platform is running on a public blockchain, and how many?
It's a public,
nodes,
yeah.
How many nodes do you already have, and how do I become a node in setting up an agent?
Yeah,
or
that's actually very good. So if you would like to become a node, again, please contact us. So we're going to have a mainnet V2 launch in March. So we're about to give, you know, we're looking to have validators so we're running testnet this on testnet at the moment. But we're looking for more validators, more people who want to be participating and who want to really help to decentralize this infrastructure. So if you're interested, let us know. We would be happy to have a chat with you. So yeah, it's a public blockchain, and you need to have a public blockchain. You know, if you're looking for mobility, smart cities, a supply chain, these are really, you cannot have a private infrastructure. So these are really use cases for public blockchains. Here's a nice, really interesting use case. I will only briefly cover that. I would recommend, you know, I spoke with Nick. If you guys want to get in touch with these guys, have them present the full use case. So they're developing it with us. This is deployed in Munich.
We know Datarella, and they presented one of their other projects quite recently within HBI. Yeah.
Exactly. I heard about that. So the idea is that what you're trying to do with the agents is to make the parking spaces more visible. And you want to also provide the incentives to park maybe a bit further away, but in some place where there's, you know, there are more open spaces. And what you want to do is really decrease the amount that the drivers have to find these parking spaces. So you're making them more visible, which decreases, you know, the amount of time, but also mainly the amount of CO2 that is spent on looking for these parking spaces. And so we're encouraging people to park a bit further away for lower amount rather than, you know, somewhere near and then circling around and really just trying to find places. So quickly, you know, this is meant to save you time to look for, you know, looking for a parking place, also save you money, reduce stress. You can also, so if you think about that, you can actually have your own in the buildings that has also additional parking spaces that are, you know, say private spaces. You can open that up and really create these new economic opportunities for people who want to enable their parking spaces to be occupied and share them and, you know, monetize that during the day. Environment, you know, less negative impact through saved CO2, great stuff. What you need is very basic setup. Actually, we were testing it with just Raspberry Pi's cameras. This is running on our incentivized testnet, as I just mentioned. It's in parking garages in Munich. So I'll just leave it at that. If you guys want to get in touch with them later and have them presented in more detail, that'd be great. I think I mentioned these autonomous AI travel agents. So again, we're looking to release the code in at the end of February, perhaps March, around the time that we're going to be launching the mainnet. So people can actually go and try to use these agents themselves. The point what we're...
This kind of platforms are just developed from your side out of the blue, or do you have any potential large players in the industry from the very beginning that you are cooperating with and that maybe commit to using it and so on?
Both. I think it's both. So we also have other examples that we're not discussing here today, where we, you know, have NDAs that we cannot talk about, you know, certain other developments. But it's both. You know, so there are ideas, you know, if again, these agents are very viable in multi-stakeholder systems. So travel, you know, hotels, and it's something that you are able to adapt. So you don't have to wait for large corporates to really, you know, try to adapt it. But for example, the travel agents, people can rent their rooms. You know, Airbnb is doing the same thing. Basically allowing others on their platform to advertise and to offer room service. Now you can do that now. You can do that directly. So we're removing really these middle players that are controlling the market. And what you need is you know, some APIs where you connect to Amadeus, as we are doing, or as we connected to the railway system here in the UK. You can do the same thing, I'm sure, in Germany. There must be the same data. So, and what you can also do is, let's say you just enable, so you can have these agents as Oracle. So you will just provide this information to other agents, and then you can have information as a service. Now that's a really cool thing, right? And so, you know,
I fully agree with you that this is a huge market, and this that the concept is pretty convincing. Nonetheless, I mean, claiming that just by setting up an infrastructure, you will be able to compete with something like Booking.com, which is a multinational group and with thousands and thousands of developers that have set up a working and running system over years, and that have such a huge marketing budget. Is it even thinkable that you will be able to compete against some of these huge players by just saying we have a platform and everybody can use it? And
I guess the time will show, but I think people have now appetite for more privacy. I think you could see that with what happened 2 weeks ago, last week with WhatsApp and Signal, right? Signal is a private company, but I think what I'm trying to say is that what is missing at the moment is even ability to do this. So we haven't had ability to do something similar to compete with Booking.coms or these other, middle layers companies. We just haven't had that. Now we have blockchain, and blockchain is getting more and more developed. You can have more transactions because you need that first, and then you can also this decentralized AI through these agents that also wasn't really available because you needed more computing power. Now through the edge devices that are becoming more and more just mainstream, you're able to actually combine the two. So I think it's it's now becoming a really reality. It's becoming a possibility. Yes, it will take some time to adapt, but I think that's why we're here and why we're interested in these new things, because we want to change the status quo, because we're not fully happy with how things are, and there are other opportunities. This will imagine this can give you an opportunity on a personal level. So if I have a solar panel, this is something that I've been wanting to do. So if I have a solar panel, I can offer that as a service, or I can sell that energy to some electric vehicle that is driving by and needs to recharge. So I will put that on the market. It's not available. It's not possible at the moment. So we're not just talking about replacing Booking.com, but really giving people tools to to transact in a much different way than they have ever been able to, right? So, and we are getting more and more electric vehicles. Where are they all going to find charging places? So you will be able to give regular people these tools and this infrastructure to enable these transactions. And I think that's what we're trying to do in general with blockchain. And like I said, now with when we add AI to it, this really like decentralized AI, it's going to be a game changer. So I think time will show. So, but at least now it's possible. There are these infrastructure tools that are that we're building, others are building. So we have interoperability with other blockchains, with Ethereum, with Cosmos, with Binance Smart Chain. Right. So, the ecosystem will grow considerably if we just compare what we have now and what we have, how much bigger that is from what we had a year ago. It's a huge example. Yeah.
We're approaching more and more the 8 o'clock, which is not a hard deadline. However, some kind of maybe we accelerate a little bit running through the use cases you brought with us, and we have one more question, and I would like to learn a little bit more about the token and the tokenomics behind it. I think that'd be pretty interesting as well.
So I think I explain sort of in high level these use cases. They're more explained on our website. There are videos, and like I said, people can get in touch. There are other use cases even that I didn't mention today. But what I would like to just say, something else that we're building with the Fetch team, or it's Fetch powered, is this other is Metalex, is a decentralized exchange platform for trading commodity derivatives. With our vision is to bring this 20 trillion commodities market on chain. There are two main functions: is liquidity, yield through lending, and trading platform. So it's really hedging or trading commodity derivatives. Launch will be in February. You can go to dex.metalex.com to see it. And we have a light paper and walkthroughs on metalex.com. So that's our website. And we can perhaps have some other session later to some other time to discuss this. Yeah, so this is another thing that we're also working on. And there's one other one that I didn't mention today that will be available, lending and borrowing against real assets, but tokenized assets. So we can cover that in Q2, hopefully.
All right. So how big is the team? And you're all operating out of Cambridge, or?
We're becoming more decentralized. So we have about 40 people and then some more on demand. We have now actually some people also in Germany and in the other places, but we're mostly Cambridge based. But in an international team, so I'm myself not from the UK, I'm from Slovakia originally, and we have really international team experts from different backgrounds. So, any questions?
Are you going to elaborate a little bit on the tokenomics of the fetch token?
Let me just go back to that. So that was somewhere at the beginning. So I mentioned that you need to have here. You need to have token in order to be able to function right on the network. So.
And that's supposed to basically be a utility token that you need to, a utility token kind
exactly.
of.
Exactly. That's a utility token that you need to, it's like I said, it's like Ethereum. So like ETH, in order to be able to have transactions, you need a gas on the blockchain. At the moment, the open economic framework, so the search mechanism is open, so it's free. But we're looking how to perhaps add additional services, how to tokenize that. But we're also looking, actually that's something interesting. So we're looking to build marketplace for people. So if you build some agents or agent components, you will be able to sell it perhaps to others. So we're looking to add this this functionality as well. And to enable more or quicker development. Sort of like what Apple is doing, Apple Store, they have all kinds of apps. So we have developers who are interested, who have some interesting ideas, or if you build interesting, algorithms. So there's lots of smart people building algorithms. At the moment, what's your option? Probably start your own company and build another platform to deploy this algorithm. But now you have more options because you can actually deploy these algorithms in these agents, and monetize it that way. So I think we're gonna, give people lots of ability to really participate in this ecosystem, in this economic, economic ecosystem.
Actually, as you're mentioning, building a marketplace for people or know-how, this pretty much leads to one question that was already posted a bit earlier, which has some not psychological but philosophical aspect attached to it. The question is: so if a human can also be an agent, so set up himself as an agent, the human becomes indistinguishable from a machine within the IoT world. Does this not reduce the human being to an accumulation of his data? What image of man and mankind does this suggest? Good question. Thank you for that.
Oh, that's a good question. That's a philosophical question. We should open a bottle of wine, everybody at home, and have another 1 hour discussion on that topic. I think it's up to us how much we allow to be reduced. So I don't think that's I don't think that's what we're suggesting here, is a reduction of our human capabilities or capacities to just become agents. I think how I look at it as a enabler, as a tool to achieve, to work on my behalf and to do things that I normally spend hours doing. So for example, travel booking, I spent, when we were able to travel, I have to book my own business travel. I've spent hours looking for the flights for, to get me to a certain hotel, then trying to find the right hotels. If something goes wrong, you have to, reshuffle and spend more extra time. So previously, a few years, 10, 15 years ago, we used to have travel agents, real people that we paid money to do this job for us. Now, all of that information is there. It's on the internet. All you need is some agent, some smart agent that does it for you. And that's what we're trying to do, build these tools that, these agents that can combine all these pieces of information that are already out there, give you the options to choose from. And in the meantime, you can go and, play with your kids or, cook a dinner or something else, right? So that's what we're trying to do.
All right, valid point. I think it's quite difficult to consider that a human being is properly represented by a digital twin, because by definition the digital twin can only be digital and will be black and white, and it's a little bit difficult to have all the shades of gray represented in a digital twin. There's another question which I find quite interesting, and which is something that not only your project will be envisaging. The question is, could there be a problem that the world encoded on or visible on the Fetch network or framework or platform is out of sync with the real world? So in a very easy example, how can you ensure that the parking spot that is free in the digital world remains free in the real world, and how do we do this transaction interaction and the synchronization between the unchained and the changed?
Yeah. No, that's a very valid question. It's a very good question. Several ways how you can ensure that. So, for example, in the parking use case, there are cameras that are monitoring the parking spaces. At the moment, not here in the UK, but for example, in Slovakia, I'm sure it's like that in Germany as well. When you go to some of these modern park places, you actually have lights above the parking spaces where they indicate whether it's taken, or it's red, or it's open, it's green. But you only see the lights when you get there. So what you're really trying to do is represent these open and full parking spaces in some different way, not just, not that you have to drive so close to them that you see the light, but you have some other way to see that. So that's one way to do it. In general, what you build with blockchain, what's interesting, what people I think don't really realize, is that you are able to build this trust in these players, because over time they will build reputation, right? So and that stays there on the blockchain. So you will be able to prove that you have been truthful to the the information that you represent has been validated, has been real. So I guess that's why we're saying that we're using blockchain to build trust and reputability. That's also then verified with a proper history.
But I mean, frankly speaking, we might imagine that at some point in time, the kind of the digital twin will replace the physical, because I mean, for the time being, we have the traffic signs and we want to see them, and then we simultaneously can kind of receive their content or their saying in a digital way. But I mean, at some point in time, you don't need the traffic signs anymore when you have a system where just every car that goes along a certain street is aware that there is a speed reduction at some point in time, and they all receive it purely digital, and you don't need any plastic and copper signs on the side of the street.
Yeah, absolutely. And what's good is that you can share, you can choose to share that information, and you can monetize that, right? Everybody's talking about monetizing data, but this is actually how you can do it. You can provide that information to somebody else, or that share that parking place, or share your solar panel capacity with somebody else and monetize it.
Maria, as we're getting to an end, and I don't see any more open questions from the auditorium, just briefly on Fetch AI, is a private company, is it classical finance with VC, or are you funding the project by doing private sales of your token, or how do you see the governance of the corporation and the system and the future financing.
Yeah. No, it's another good question. I think it's sort of a combination. So we had an IEO back in 2018, but yeah, right. So that was yeah, that provided certain funding. We're also now enabling this infrastructure, and that's in a way that's funding the development as well, right? So as I mentioned, it's kind of pay-per-use. So we're hoping that people will find it useful and will come and will use the infrastructure, and that will then in turn fund more development, just like any other foundation of Cardano Foundation, other blockchain foundations are run in a similar way.
But for the time being, the Fetch token is not yet listed on an exchange, right?
It is. No, it has been. That's why I said it was. We ran an IEO, so it's kind of like ICO, but back in 2018. Wow, it's 2 years. Time flies.
Right.
Yeah. So yeah, so the token is also publicly traded. I am actually not able to comment on the tokens as such. So it's a utility token where it's really meant to really fuel the applications that are built on the blockchain.
Right. Maria, thank you so much for being with us, for giving us some insight in these really interesting, challenging, and I think directing in a future world projects and ideas. For me personally, it was really enlightening, and I do hope that for our attendees it was as well, but given the number of questions that are pretty much on point, I tend to assume that the attendees did appreciate it as well. So thank you very much, and it was great pleasure having you here, and well, wishing you and Fetch AI all the best for the kind of developing this further. And I personally do really believe that this kind of infrastructure will have a significant impact on how blockchain is likely to really conquer the digital world. So thanks again, and was great having you. Just briefly, for next Monday, please bear in mind we will have DiviChain. DiviChain is a circular system using blockchain technology for sustainability issues. I think that's likely to be a very interesting talk as well. And well, watch our website and watch the newsletter if you like to be informed about future events. Maria, thanks for being here. All the best.
Thank you so much as well. Thank you, guys. I hope you enjoyed it. Like I said, if anybody has any other questions, keep in touch. Yeah, I look forward to hopefully coming back, and maybe we'll discuss something in a half year again, how this is working out. Thank you, Mark.
Thank you. Stay healthy, everybody, and looking forward to next Monday. Okay.
Bye. Cheers.